If you're like most people, you probably have one or two or 500 problems, maybe, that never quite seem to resolve themselves. Problems with yourself, problems with others, problems with life in general. And because of these ongoing problems, it's likely that you hold yourself back a little bit, that you don't step into life fully, that you don't put yourself on full display. You probably think things to yourself like, once my circumstances improve, once I'm better, then I'll really start living, then I'll really show up. And in this way, you put full engagement with your life, you put being who you are into the future. On the surface of it, this makes perfect sense. I mean, who wouldn't want to resolve their supposed flaws or to improve their circumstances before they engage fully with their lives? But here's the sneaky bit: life will never be wholly to your liking entirely. There will always be something about yourself, about your relationships, about your job, about your world in general that won't be entirely to your taste. Life is never going to exist purely on your terms. It doesn't exist to satisfy you. And deep down, you already know that. You know that to fully engage with life as it is, to fully open yourself to life as it happens to be, requires full engagement with both the parts of life that you like and the parts of life that you don't like, the parts of life that you find distasteful, that you find disturbing. And if you're like most people, you don't want to fully open and expose yourself to the parts of life that are disturbing, to the parts of life that you don't like. And that is precisely where our problems come into the picture. So long as you have a problem, then you have a good excuse to remain on the sidelines and to wait for a supposedly better time to join the game. Once problem X resolves, you say to yourself, then I'll show up fully. But mysteriously enough, you never quite figure out a way to resolve problem X once and for all. Or if you do, then you quickly replace problem X with problem Y or problem Z. Because the real goal isn't to resolve your problems, it's to maintain them. See, your problems, they serve as your protection. They give you the excuse you need to avoid the scary act of showing up fully for your life as it is, exactly as you happen to be in the moment. If you were to lose your problems by way of resolving them, then you would lose your excuse. You'd have to show up fully for your life. And then you'd have to come face to face with the truth that you already intuitively know, which is that life is still going to be disturbing. You're still going to have various vulnerabilities, various pains that surface. You'd see that sometimes the parts of life that we don't like aren't the result of fixable flaws. They're simply an aspect of being alive, an aspect of being human. But most of us don't want to acknowledge that. And so we avoid that truth by retreating back into our problems. Because when we're relating to our problems from a position of taking them very seriously, then we see them as the cause and the solution to our distress and disturbance. We can maintain the fantasy that if only I resolve the problem, then I could live a disturbance free life. Then I could have a perfect life. But as we've been exploring, because we intuitively know that life will never be perfect, but we want to avoid raw confrontation with that truth, then we have to maintain the problem. The problem is both a distraction from that truth and it is a protection from that truth. So our investment, our unconscious investment, becomes not resolving the very problems that we complain about. If, as we've been exploring, you don't get to not be disturbed, and if you don't get to eventually have everything that you want and nothing that you don't, then I think that we have two fundamental choices. Do you continue to invest in your problems as a form of protection? Do you continue to put a full engagement with life off into some sort of distant and ever retreating future? Or do you instead decide to show up for your life fully exactly as it already happens to be, to step into yourself exactly as you already happen to be? Because if not now, then when? And if you do decide to take this on as an experiment, as a practice for a few minutes here and there, what would it be like to just be fully engaged in this moment without any complaint, without any claim of there being a problem? What would it be like to just step into my life fully, even for a few minutes or a few seconds? Then you can do a little investigation. Does being fully who you are, does being fully engaged with life as it is, harm you? Is there evidence of damage? Does it destroy you? Does it impair you? Is there evidence that you can't handle it or that life can't handle you? Probably not. Maybe, just maybe, you'll discover that the act of being fully yourself as you happen to be in the moment, though disturbing, is also inherently satisfying. And that life, imperfect though it is always worth showing up for while you still have the chance to do so.